Welcome to the Muslim blog. A righteous person may be put into a particular context. Nothing can harm the righteous person. But the righteous person can be at war with themselves, though, because of their righteousness. A person can be at war with their own spirit. But that's a sign of righteousness, though, when a person is careful, and they care about certain topics, and they care about arrogance. Exactly. The righteous person can really beat themselves up, though. It has to do with the self. The righteous person cares about what is happening to itself, and it can be in a sort of torturous state with itself because of its righteousness, though. That's not the case. You notice that, exactly. When someone is righteous, that's a sign of righteousness, though. They care about what is happening internally to themselves, and they care about topics like that. When a righteous person is talking to a babbler, though, the righteous person says to themselves, God must approve of this person because of babbling. Big mistake, though. When a person is placed in a particular context, it's not an error. The righteous person need not beat themselves up over that. When a person is placed in a context, the person says to themselves, God must approve of this person because of its babbling. When a person is placed in a context, a person says to themselves, God must approve of this person because of its babbling. God responded to that, though. What God told the person is something very basic. When someone is talking about any topic, who cares about their topics? Exactly. The measure of the individual is something very basic. When someone is babbling, though, it's a very specific type of thing. Exactly. In that sense, though, when a person is talking about nearly any topic, the righteous person need not fear a babbler. Exactly. When we look at anything in particular, a person can talk about nearly any topic that no one cares about. If the person is talking about a topic that we know to be false, exactly. When a person is even borrowing language, who cares? If the person is talking about nearly any topic, though, we know what the person is beforehand, and no one should be ashamed of that, though. So the issue goes back to the individual. The righteous person is careful about being arrogant. It's careful about topics, but it knows something viscerally. What I tell you the difference is that, though, we see how they're exactly. In that sense, though, what God tells the person is something very basic, though. When you know what a person is, why should you be ashamed? The thing is the shame, exactly. In that sense, though, when a person is talking about it, we know that. We even feel ashamed for the thing. Part of who we are is that. When we look at something babbling, denying God, exactly. But in that sense, though, when we're in any kind of context, we have to stop feeling shame for it even. Exactly, when a person is in a particular context, we know what the topic is. The person has to strengthen themselves in that way. We say, we know what you are, exactly. In that sense, though, when a person is in any kind of context, as if they're going to fear a babbler, exactly. The issue is something that we now know, exactly. When someone is in any kind of context, though, the issue is whether we care about anyone's topic. Persons can have many topics, who cares about that? When persons are in a particular context, though, it's as if they forgot what was written in Scripture, exactly. Exactly. In that sense, though, when we do look at a particular topic, the gist of the topic is whether a righteous person any longer cares about any of their topics. If an individual has a topic, who cares about it? In that sense, though, it's not like this is new to people, exactly. When a person is in any kind of context, it has to do basic things that no one cares about. In that sense, though, when the person is a righteous person, we understand what the dilemmas are of a righteous person, but they need not have that, exactly. When a person is in any kind of context, though, it has to do with basic things that we know about the context. In that sense, though, Let's say, for example, someone cares about a topic that no one cares about called the faculty of embarrassment. Exactly. When someone is in a particular context, who cares what the babbler says? It has to do with turf, correct? Turf is like anything else, though. When babblers among other babblers, exactly. It's just a cesspool of garbage, exactly. Person need not step into it, though. If they do, they should have their own friends there, exactly. But when we talk about this as if it's new, when someone is in a cesspool, are they going to do as exactly? Well, what does a cesspool sound like? Topics that no one cares about, exactly. Exactly. In that sense, cafe intellectualism, correct. We know it's garbage. They're emitting garbage from all their orifices, correct. In that sense, though, when something is emitting garbage from its orifices and it's babbling, just remind it what it emits, exactly. Is it by choice that it emits that? In that, exactly. When a person is in a particular context, though, the righteous person understands that, though. When it emits, it's wholly correct. When we have someone who's in any kind of context, it has to do with whether we want to count this as cesspool. Cesspool is like anything else. If I don't feel like counting it, I shouldn't. But if the person talks about nearly any topic, though, it has to do with we service, exactly. When a person is in any kind of context, it has to do with basic things like that. If a disease is wearing clothes, who cares about that? If garbage is wearing clothes, who cares about that? We know what it emits from its orifice. In that sense, though, if the person is talking about nearly any topic, it has to do with whether or not a righteous person has a right in that sense. But what I tell people about topics is that, though, when something is perverse in telling you exactly. In that sense, though, what I try to tell persons about that topic is that, though, when a person says it's about any number of righteous persons' rights, though, take a look at what the perverse person is doing. The perverse person is demanding that you service it first. Is that a right? Exactly. It's a right that you demean yourself first. It's a right that you can... Exactly. In that sense, though, when a person is in any kind of context, the perverse person is demanding the person concede things that are irrelevant. In that sense, though, if the person says, I don't feel like conceding something irrelevant, exactly. In that sense, though, the perverse person is demanding the individual concede topics that we well know. In that sense, though, if the person does not feel like doing that, the person is not any number of topics, and we know that by now. How is the person bigoted? Makes no sense. Because the person doesn't want to accept the cesspool? It has to do with these basic topics, though. The perverse person demands the individual accept their topics first. No one that makes any sense says, I have to accept the cesspool first. When a person is in any kind of context, a person has a right to do that. When persons talk about any number of topics, though, the first demand of the perverse person is that the individual concede obvious topics to it. When a person is a babbler, that's what it demands, exactly. What if you don't feel like giving the concession? Exactly. If a person is in a particular topic, though, it has to do with stuff everyone is acquainted with, though. When a perverse person's standard is obvious, the perverse person demands the individual concede every topic to it first. What do you call that? Perversion. If a person says, I don't feel like doing that, that is a normal thing. When we look at it from any particular perspective, the perverse person's standard is that the individual concede everything to it first. In that sense, if a person says, listen, no matter what the standard is, that is even childish. If the person talks about anything, a particular person may not feel like doing that. A person should never do that in my book. The perverse person's standard is that the individual concede everything to it first. In that sense, though, if a person's talking about nearly any topic, it has to do with obvious subjects. Enjoy the blog. If a person's talking about nearly any topic, though, it has to do with what anyone cares about these topics. When a person is mature, they understand basic things. If the person is saying, give me everything first so I can attack you, to me that makes no sense. The standard of a perverse person is that it demands the individual concede everything to it first. In that sense, it has to do with basic things like that. Have a good one.